You're singing to me like a song. Come here, girl, I'll make it simple. You got something that I want, and we'll be dancing all night long. We'll live it up till morning comes. Yeah, you and me, we're gonna run to chase the sun, sun, sun. Yeah, you and me, we're gonna run to chase the sun, sun, sun.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to LCK 2019 Summer. It is the final day of the second last week of the LCK here, and things are really crazy. I'm Atlas, this is LS, of course, to bring you your Sunday LCK action. And man, we could have a standings that is absolutely ludicrous at the end of today.
Yeah, I mean, the current standings are pretty crazy, as has been Summer 2019 for Korea so far. And Griffin, coming into tonight's match, this one's super important for them. They're the only team that can get to the 13 wins and secure that first place. Yep,
and then they will be second a season in a row in first place at the end of the regular season. Of course, in their debut season, summer of 2018, they were tied for first place and were only second based on head-to-head against a KT that was dominating throughout that season as well. So this would be huge for Griffin to get back to the top of the pedestal as they have been many times. But if Griffin lose today, they're going to be taking on a Kingzone Dragon X that looked better against Jin Air, especially Naehyun with his four-man Emperor's Divides looking fantastic on his Azir. You're looking at the standings right now. If a FLICKR and Kingzone both win, then we have one match separating the top 7 teams in the LCK.
Yeah, and I mean, standings are just so neck and neck.
It's insane.
Between the top 7. We're not going to talk about 8 through 10.
No.
Okay, but today we have two pretty important matches, back-to-back. So first up, the Griffin versus Kingzone, and then also Gen G takes on a FLICKR later. And that's a really important match for a FLICKR if they want to make a run to really climb up these standings.
Yeah, and also a FLICKR looked fantastic in their last match out as well. They did lose to Sandbox, but Sandbox have been on a bit of a tear recently. A FLICKR didn't look like their inconsistent selves, however, and it was a 3-game series. Bit of a nail-biter towards the end of that one as well. So excited to see what a FLICKR have in store for us, but that is going to be later. And right now, it's Griffin versus Kingzone. A Kingzone that did just beat Jin Air Green Wings. They looked better doing it, but there is still a lot of talk of turmoil in this squad, and we'll see whether they have bettered it. There was a bit of an interview with TusiN, who did sound a little bit more confident.
Yeah.
Seems like some of the things have been overcome, but we'll have to see whether they can leave that particular outcome on the Rift, or whether it is going to be Griffin running away with it. This is actually just a gigantic match between these two teams, and will tell us a lot about what the standings are going to look like as far as the end of the season is concerned. We're checking out the points of the match here. Griffin to the first place versus Kingzone wants the playoff run going. Griffin got their chance. If they win today, they reclaim the first place after 5 weeks, and then they have 2 matches to go afterwards as well. I think Griffin have played the least games so far as our top 7. So they do have the opportunity to really crush it through, and their last 2 matches are not exactly against the top teams.
Oh, right, and you know, Griffin, the other match point, Chaotic LCK today might be decided if the playoff participants. If Griffin Gen win, Griffin Damwon, Sandbox SKT, Gen lock the playoff standings. So, now taking a look at some of the team stats here, KDA. Griffin, they have a couple of impressive stats.
Yeah, they're looking,
as we say, pretty often.
Would you say that you're impressed?
No.
All right, so not impressed, however, it's impressive. I'm still trying to get my head around what all of this means, but having the top team KDA means that they've been doing a hell of a lot of winning, and that is definitely true. Average game time is the fastest here, but you can see there is nothing between these two teams. I think this is actually the most consistent average game time that we've had in the LCK. It's been like, you've had your Gen G games that have been averaging like 40 minutes in the past, and then you've got other teams that are much faster than that. I mean, this isn't that 10-minute spread. This is like a 2-minute spread between all 10 of our LCK teams.
I mean, when second and third place are just 20 seconds between these two teams, that's really saying a lot.
Yeah,
So, we're going to take a look at some of the highlights here. As Chovy on the mid Renekton against Rich.
Rich making his debut, coming on over after a very successful Heroes of the Storm career, but was only able to win one match in this one. Void Seeker there, Naehyun just killing his AD carry. Feels bad.
Down here in bottom now. Rich coming out is also pretty iconic. I believe that's the first major switch League of Legends has had.
Yeah, we haven't had
Right?
too many people transition from other games to League, right? Because League's been around for so long, and generally you started playing it. Whereas Rich did play a lot of League of Legends at the beginning, but then moved to Heroes of the Storm because of its popularity here in Korea, and chose that as his career path, and then has since had to move back and did win his debut game. So 1-1 so far for Rich. We'll see whether we see him in our match later on today against the FLICKR Freaks. This was Kingzone finding that one moment where this was Jin Air playing the first 20 minutes perfectly. They were on track for a perfect game, and then they lost it in 7 minutes.
Yeah. And Kingzone, I mean, they were showing a lot of promise in this game. They ended up winning.
They did.
As well.
Pretty
again,
considerably.
It is Jin Air.
It was. So it's a lot of caveats necessary for this particular match, but what we could draw from it was that this brought a lot more confidence back to a Kingzone that were 0-4 in recent weeks. They'd been really struggling. Sort of a lot of speculation as to what had been happening, but then Naehyun comes out and does stuff like that, and you could imagine that you're feeling a little bit better being on the Rift as a Kingzone player.
That was a little bit of a pretty impressive zero ultimate. I'm impressed.
Oh my goodness.
Okay.
Well, you didn't even see his bottom lane one, which was even better. 4-man scoops everyone up, puts them in the bin. KDA at 15 minutes for Chovy ain't bad. 25.0. Not sure how that stat even happens, but I guess we just take out the fact that he hits a little bit towards the end of the game, and then you get a number like that.
That's okay.
Certainly been playing well in recent days, has Chovy. I think he was the most impressive part.
At 15 minutes, though.
Yeah, that ain't bad.
8.6 plus for Chovy and negative, or minus 5.2 for Naehyun. Probably not going to be the best of situations for Naehyun here in the mid lane.
Well, it tells a bit of a story here between these two players. Chovy does like playing for lane, and he farms like a beast. You saw his Jace. He was like 40 CS ahead of the clock at 20 minutes. Just disgusting levels of farm against Fly in game number 1. We're going to be introducing Griffin here first. They will make their way out. They'll be on the blue side to start this one off. Moving out onto Lol Park. Doran going to be retaining his spot on the top side of the map. Sword has been making some noises outside of the team, of just letting people know that this was a strategic choice. It's not like there's anything wrong with Sword at the moment. It's just that the champion pool of Doran has been helping Griffin find some victories here in a meta that hasn't really suited Sword's playstyle as much. Thinking about here, CV Max try and get this draft in order for the Griffin squad. But I want to go back to that point of the mid lane CS numbers. It shows that Naehyun has been roaming a hell of a lot more than Chovy. Chovy's been getting priority in a lot of side lane farm, but you saw that man on your screen right there. Deft does like to pick up a lot of that mid game to late game farm to allow him to carry.
Right.
And Naehyun is sort of left off to the sidelines to play a little bit more of a utility role, even if he is on one of these hyper carry mid laners like the Azir, because he gets stuff done with his ultimate rather than sending his Sand Soldiers out to auto-attack people to death. Yeah. He scoops them up and hands them over to Deft to finish off all of these kills. So I don't think it's necessarily that much of a bad thing that his CSD numbers are relatively low because of what he's able to do because he sacrifices farm.
The scary thing for Kingzone coming into today's match, though, with that kind of a dynamic is that Griffin are some of the best team fighters in LCK.
Absolutely.
In spring, they would have been heavily considered to be the best until maybe their fall in the finals. But Griffin, no strangers to team fighting, going mid in late game and then waking up massively. And so if Kingzone fails to secure advantages, which is going to be really hard, for the mid laner to achieve. You're going to have to wonder how the mid to late transition is going to end up being for them, and Rascal isn't as difficult of a top lane matchup for Doran as some of the others that he's gone up against in recent weeks.
That is a good point. I mean, Rascal is, in his own right, playing very well recently. He's at least second on the MVP rankings at the moment. When Kingzone win, they largely do win through him, but I think you're right. Still shows some of those younger player tendencies. Hasn't really evolved to be one of our more stalwart top laners. But Doran is exactly the same, right? Making his debut mid-season here for Griffin. He has been upgrading his performance, but you can't expect massive things out of that gentleman on your screen right here. And Banner pick is upon us. Karma going to be the first one off the board on the side of Griffin, and we'll see whether Kingzone can utilize this last pick that they have for themselves being on red side in order to mix things up against this Griffin squad that have just been doing a lot of winning recently.
Well, banned so far, Karma and Camille banned away by Griffin. Kingzone responding with Akali and Yuumi.
Yuumi, of course, a huge one against Lehends, and Camille is massive against Rascal. He's been picking it as often as he can and really doing great things, even in matchups that you wouldn't necessarily pit Camille as being great at. In especially the laning phase, he is very, very good at navigating around that champion, but no need to talk about it. Not going to be playing it this game. It's Kingzone one final ban to come in. It will be the Silas. Corki available. A lot of different champions are up, and the entire bottom lane choice as far as AD carries are there as well. So Aatrox will be the priority, a flex pick among 3 of the Griffin members, but likely going over to Doran this time around. I'm looking at Nico, and I'm thinking that she's standing out because it's a fantastic flex between Rascal and Naehyun. Kingzone do use her very, very well, and she does have that flexible build path, being able to take the press the attack and going AD, or going the Glacial Augment route. Oh, just do it. Just
Nico wouldn't be that bad, but Gragas locked in, and now will they accompany it with the Yasuo? Champions like Ezreal, even for Deft, this early on in the draft are completely fine because Aatrox being picked first heavily makes you devote basically to that theme of an engagey type of team composition. Aatrox doesn't have the best of time split pushing in the current meta, at least not in a way that he would threaten raising an inhibitor turret or something of that nature.
Not exactly a Trinity Force user that can just smash down turrets. Or a Jace, for example.
Tom Kench now being hovered, even though Kingzone have already picked up the Corki and the Gragas Sejuani.
Pretty standard stuff out from Griffin. I actually don't like picking support if you're going to pick Sejuani, just because she can flex so effectively. But not going to happen this time around. We saw that support Sejuani already utilized, I believe, by Griffin. Could be wrong, as Kingzone hovering a few of Deft's favorites.
Oh.
The Cogmore making his way back in. We've seen a couple of them so far, but this would be the standard lock-in, and the Kaiser is going to be picked up here for Deft. So already, we've got jungle mid and AD carry. Seeing what supports are going to come out here. TusiN with a few different options, does like to mix things up. His Pyke's been good in the past, but we could also be having the Gragas support as well for TusiN. This is a famous bottom lane duo that Papa has mentioned this many times before, but we saw when Griffin were on their tear in the regular season, I believe it was in spring, it was Kingzone that was able to thwart them by utilizing this exact combo, level 2, smacking people off the rip.
And the Irelia ban is a little bit interesting.
I think it's just because Sejuani's locked in.
Yeah.
So because then they could
take away the combo.
Yeah, and if you think about it, where okay, so never mind. There's Sejuani. I actually thought that if Irelia came in, you could then augment it with a Karthus, and then you've got that damage profile that you like. But the Sejuani makes things a little bit perplexing. Could be, theoretically a bottom lane.
There you go. That's exactly what you need.
There we go.
And the other thing for Kingzone as well is that they picked the Kai'Sa even though an Aatrox and a Sejuani were already picked up. So Kai'Sa traditionally very, very good at basically being a suicide ADC in the sense that she dives into the backline. She has the access to the carries that are traditionally not reachable. But with Griffin not having shown anything of that nature, it can prove to be a little bit less optimal, or less ideal. Well, Jarvan now picked up, though.
Yep, Jarvan's going to come in. That is going to confirm that Gragas not going to be heading into the jungle, and in fact we will get that exact bottom lane that we were talking about. It's going to be going up against the Kings of Safety in the Tahm Kench and the Ezreal. One day we won't have to see this combo in the bottom lane, but it is not this day.
Well,
the classic singed hover here for Lehends, just a throwback to how he managed to dominate solo queue back in the day. And it's going to be Kassadin to come out from Chovy. All right, the old school Corki counter. This one has not been utilized in a very long time, and I'm glad that I've been a commentator for a very long time because that is a meta that's about 4 years old.
Now, will they send the Corki top?
Oh, theoretically you could.
They can do that. They can send Corki top lane, and you could pick up.
They're not going to. Well, actually, this could still be a flex in theory.
Yeah, there's definitely still the option to have Gangplank go into Kassadin, but Gangplank also dismantles Aatrox as well, so it doesn't necessarily have to be either which way. The Kassadin's really interesting. He has the way out of the Cataclysm. He has the ability to get onto the Corki, onto the Kai'Sa. He's so powerful against these squishies. He has ways to prevent Gangplank from doing anything in the later stages of the game. And he also comes online around the same time as Ezreal, and he'll help augment the overall team composition with the Aatrox. So the Griffin team composition is really interesting.
I actually love the Kassadin here with what he offers against King's Own.
I just realized it.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, go ahead. Continue first. I'll let you in.
All right, all right. I've lost my train of thought a little bit here because I'm so curious about what you're going to say. But I was just talking about Kingzone's composition, and in a team fight, they have a lot of displacement and a lot of area control. And what does Kassadin do? He gets in and he gets out pretty reliably with his Rift Walk. So not going to be exactly locking him down and not going to be able to keep the fight in a certain location if you want to kill Chovy in this particular matchup. Ezreal, very similar. They've got a lot of mobility with this composition.
We'll have to see what the rune choice is actually going to be. There's someone, I believe, on the Korean ladder right now that's very high challenger. He runs Barrier Exhaust on Kassadin.
Oh, what a beast.
I don't know who it is, but we'll see what the rune choice is going to be here for Chovy. Gangplank, Jarvan, Corki, Kai'Sa, and Gragas. See what they can do in game number 1.
Yeah, exactly. Game number 1's upon us. Let's go. All right, here we go. Pardon me. Beautiful afternoon here at Lowell Park as my throat decided to close over just for a second. Chovy spotting out TusiN and Deft here. Has the Celestial skin as well, theoretically. The Southern Cross skin. It was assumedly made for the Oceanic server. Took a very long time for that skin to come out. Tell you what. It's like 2013 was when we opened those servers, and I think this skin came out 2015. Sometimes things take a while.
It's all right. Yeah. Well, on the Kassadin question, it will be fleet footwork. Curious to see what all of the runes are on him, as it could give us a little bit of insight into what his potential build path might be.
The popular Kassadin rune page that Chovy has played before in the LCK was it was this one, the Taste of Blood and the Ravenous Hunter, just to keep yourself topped up, and that alongside the fleet footwork means that it's a little bit more difficult to move the Kassadin from the mid lane. And Naehyun's doing a very similar thing. As here we go. This is what we were expecting, and it is going to be that lane swap, but the player swap is not going to be coming in. And this is just valuing keeping Chovy down rather than keeping Doran down quite as much. And I actually like the Corki into this matchup anyway as far as the Aatrox is concerned. So feels like Kingzone are going to be able to play for lane so far. And that is a great sign for them because we know that if Griffin can play for lane, then it's really difficult for anyone to unseat them as far as that lead is concerned. Genji falling prey to that in a couple of days ago.
And also take note that this is double Kleptomancy on the side of Kingzone, so they're being a little bit of gamblers here.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see how much gold can they actually accrue with this. What can they do to accelerate their early game state? Unfortunately, due to the winning matchups, it's going to be really good for them. But even though they have a Gangplank and a Corki, That's not really gonna matter all the way until maybe 5-6 items, but at that point, you're talking about a level 16 Kassadin that's also gonna have 4 or 5 items to his name, and then it's gonna be really scary, because the Ezreal is really slippery and problematic for the Kingzone team comp.
The thing I really love about Griffin's comp is that it bridges itself to that level 16 Kassadin really beautifully. Ezreal, 2 items, we talk about it all the time, but Aatrox is another one of those champions that can teamfight very well once you've picked up 30% CDR, as well as, you know, Death Stance and the Black Cleaver being the items that get you there, and also being very, very strong in their own right. So likely that Chovy should be able to relatively comfortably get himself to a decent stage if Griffin can take control of elsewhere on the map, because right now it's tough. This is going back to the memory banks of how life as a Kassadin goes, and it means that basically until level 6 you get pummeled, and then hopefully you've done decently well and you're going to be okay.
Well, he is taking a bit of a beating. It's really interesting to see the Doran's ring start on his go, rather than the Doran shield or corrupting potion.
Yeah, you would have thought shield would be almost a no-brainer against the guy that's just going to be parlaying you over and over again, but not going to happen. Tarzan looking for Naehyun, though, top side of the map. Good knock up there from Doran. Gets the Valkyrie, and that's exactly what Tarzan was waiting for.
Oh, that's a really late response from Naehyun.
Yep, Naehyun moving up. He's going to have to try and get over this wall. Fat flash opportunity is going to come in, but Permafrost is too good, and Naehyun's not going to blow the flash. He accepts his fate. First blood goes to Griffin.
And that was a really cookie-cutter gank. We saw that even though Tarzan had actually showed himself to the minions, Naehyun didn't respond. He actually clicked forward about 2 Teemos and issued an auto attack.
I think it was just a bad read on where Tarzan was in the jungle, feeling a little bit safer than Naehyun otherwise was. Cuzz moving on over, he's doing his wolf camp at the moment. We'll be able to head back up towards his Krugs, and Kassadin's on the roam. We're going to check out this one once again, but I have an idea we'll be coming back to some potential action.
Yeah. And I like that Naehyun doesn't even bother to end up using his flash here. He just embraces death. I believe the current top lane state, Doran doesn't actually need to teleport back to this lane. Yeah, he can just use the Umbral Dash?
Umbral Dash is his E,
yeah, caster, by the way. I knew that. So he's just going to be able to use that to... Alright, he TP'd.
Never mind. Yeah. Sometimes you set out the optimal play, but it's not actually the play that people go for, and that's okay.
All right,
that's okay.
Oh, so the thing I was realizing though.
All right, all right.
Do you realize how I pronounce Kassadin?
Yeah. Kassadin.
There's gonna be some people that are upset.
Ah, right. Is this like
and
your
Aatrox in the same game?
Oh no.
Yeah.
It's all right. I got the Kassadin going on. My Australian accent helps me make sure that's how I pronounce it. But I mean, Kassadin's fine. It's like saying class instead of class.
There you go.
Say okay.
I'm glad that you're on my side for this.
Yeah, I got you. It's not exactly like Ackley or something like that.
Right.
You know, that's just straight wrong.
Someone says that?
I mean, it's been said in the past.
Really?
Yeah. Ackley? You know, Ackley. Yeah, like it. That's my Australianism. And I remember I started off on the Oceanic server.
You know,
so
you played Pokemon, right?
Of course I did.
I've heard Kyogre.
What?
Oh, yeah.
What? I mean, people do struggle a little bit with the GRE at the end of Kyogre's name, so...
It's alright.
They're like, oh, but if it was Kyogre, then it would be ER, right?
Yeah.
There
you go.
Yeah. Nah, that's not how that one works.
Coming back into live, though, Cuzz, he's clearing out vision on the right-hand side, but really, the laners for Griffin, they're doing completely fine. Torquay does have the call. Does look like Kingzone are going to pick themselves up the Clown Dragon here.
Oh my god, we are investing so hard right now. Kingzone have like managed to get Pirates after the first 2 creep rounds in their TFT game, and now they're just chilling there, making that sweet bank as we move towards the late game where they're going to roll down. That's exactly what's happening here, because they've got 2 Culls and 2 Kleptos, and they're just farming this one out. Looks like Naehyun not too worried about how things are going. There's going to be a swap back as our Chovy's trying to hunt down the Corki this game. Tarzan going to make his second entry into the rift. Deft might get baited in by that Void Seeker landing as Tarzan unseen for now. He's going to make his way forward. The ult is going to be beautiful. Flash from Deft is great, but Viper still able to get the follow-up, and now TusiN, he's going to be left to the wolves. Nothing Cuzz can do, and a double kill is so simple for Griffin bottom side.
And this is going to blow things completely wide open. Deft doesn't have teleport available. The lane stage now is going to be awful. Doran hunting down Cuzz.
Yep, going to be able to get the second knock up and should be able to take away these puppies also. Rascal making his way over, an opportunity now for Cuzz to do some damage, but to add insult to injury, we've got turret plates falling down bottom side and a fantastic lane position for Griffin to get this free back, not punished at all for taking the barrier instead of the teleport.
And now Chovy looks like he's just going to be farming, but take a look at this. Tarzan with a super clean ultimate over the wall. Now Viper, I'm not going to talk about that timing. It was a zoning ultimate. Okay.
Well, I mean, that made sure that Deft had the flash, and then
There
he
you
landed
go.
everything else.
See? He
Still
knew that
good.
that was the way that it would work.
It's a pretty easy one to glass half full, to be honest.
Well, the interesting thing here, though, about this lane swap is that TusiN devoted money into 2 cloth armors and then elected to go up against the Corki,
Yeah.
which is a little bit surprising.
You're always going to be building them, though, because Zhonya's is so important on the Cassidy.
Right.
But still, completely understand, not exactly going to be helping him in this lane whatsoever. Utilizing his magic shield on the Null Sphere in order to keep himself up in that lane, as we've got another switchback, and our observers are getting real frustrated. But they're on the ball, able to get it every single time.
Really surprised that he didn't just pick up a Seeker's Arm Guard rather than get the Ruby Crystal. He will end up stunting the Rod of Ages a little bit, but getting all that excess armor and ability power just stacked up now will help him transition, because he's not looking to spike, and there's no universe where he gets Rod of Ages by the Infernal Dragon. So had he just gone for the Seekers, he would have been able to fill it up prior to the Infernal and have as many stats available, because it's not a dragon that you want to give up.
Yeah. Well, scary here on the bottom side for Kingzone fans, 85 to 100 CS, and Viper also has that Klepto, and we saw, as we switched over to the gold, that Viper's having a really good time in this lane thus far. Minion wave eaten by Deft does pull it back to about 10, but that's only going to continue extending as Viper has all of the control here in this lane. Cuzz on Shelly though, and at 10 minutes into the game, just as she has spawned, this is a good opportunity. Tarzan reveals himself though, as Rascal's going to have to eat some hella good oranges, and he can't quite find them in his bag. Tarzan locks down another kill. He is 3 for 3, one of them being a double kill now on this Sejuani.
You know what, people from other regions tell me Sejuani can't be aggressive, but
Yeah, she's pretty good.
This is one really angry large Poro.
Alright,
Here in
Tarzan
this game.
should be able to stop this one as Cuzz gets over the wall pretty comfortably, wastes a bit of Doran, and Tarzan's not bad.
Well, Kingzone are bleeding a little bit in the early parts of the game where they shouldn't be.
Yep.
They took double Kleptomancy, they had 2 winning lane matchups in mid and top, and they're bleeding from both. Just look at how easy this is. I mean, it doesn't get much more cookie cutter than this. Now, Rascal could have gotten out of this, and he ends up holding his flash because it's at the point of no return.
Yeah.
He would end up dying anyway, and so he, like Naehyun earlier on in the match, just ends up embracing it.
This honestly is like just tanking every round until you've got the items and you've got the things that you want from the carousel.
Right.
Like, it's feeling a lot like that right now. This is a great trade for Doran. Rascal down to about 400 health, but he is going to be okay. Those oranges are going to restock themselves. The barrel's going to explode. The gangplank's going to be okay. Tarzan's found TusiN. This time, though, TusiN in position to at least spot out Miss Piggy. And
That's
going to
really
be able to
rude.
stop that one.
She's not riding a pig.
What do you mean? It's a boar.
No, that's a
But Miss-
Poro.
Why is Miss Piggy...
That's
rude?
Poro.
Have you watched Sesame
Yeah,
Street?
yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah, seen the Muppets? Miss Piggy's a great character.
Okay.
Nothing wrong with saying Miss Piggy, alright?
I'll take
Calm
your word.
down.
Have you seen The Lion King?
No. Haven't yet, have you? Did you go without me?
No, I didn't. I would never.
Oh yeah, sure.
You know, they took it out of some theaters. It's not doing well. Korea does that. They snip it.
Well, to be honest, it didn't exactly get rave reviews. And the fact that Aladdin got pretty good reviews.
Yeah.
And it wasn't exactly like a 400 out of 10. It was good. I enjoyed it. But it wasn't exactly the best remake. And if The Lion King is doing noticeably worse,
Yeah.
then
That probably says something.
yeah, it says it's telling
Are
a
you
story.
a fan of horror?
Horror movies? Yeah. Yeah. I used to not
It's
be.
coming out
I
in a
know the second one. Oh god, it's gonna be so
man.
sick.
I am so excited.
I need to watch the remake. I still haven't watched the remake. I'm a bit of a.
Oh really? You haven't seen it?
I'm a Tim Curry purist when it comes
okay.
to it. He's too good at playing that character. Shelly pops down on the top side. TusiN's going to find Doran here in mid. Gets himself a decent slow as Rascal. Infernal Chain's going to pull him back to 1v2. There we go. Doran
Why aren't
locks
they
it
flashing?
down and does not lose 1 point of health. The F buttons have been disabled.
D for Rascal.
Oh yeah, sorry. D for Dlash.
What?
Perfect. D for Dlash.
D for defense.
Ah, okay.
All right.
And F for...
Or diligent. All right.
Far
And you
travel.
pursue whatever it is
F-
that you're after.
Is it F for far travel?
F for fire.
No, he's got teleport.
Oh, teleport?
Yeah.
For future.
Ah.
I got you
okay.
covered, Johnny. I'll be here I'll be here all day.
I hope so. Hasn't happened every time. All right, here's TusiN's sick gank. Let's check it out once again.
Yeah, so large man with the cast comes in here onto oversized Moth in the mid lane. Pirate dude gets caught up by all the combos, elects not to flash, and he gets brought down.
He's dead.
He is dead.
Yep. That is what happens when Aatrox lands all of his buttons and you don't have enough damage to kill him. Rod of Age is now complete here for Chovy. We've got a Trinity Force coming for Viper, who's got his boost of Lucidity already, going for a big early game spike as Naehyun puts down the package just to clear out this minion wave, but Viper's still able to get a lot of damage onto that turret. Sheen proc pretty strong here as Blast Cone is taken. Deft with the supercharger dodges the ultimate, but will have to use his own ult in order to get himself to safety. No flash is used, as is the King's Own way. As Naehyun is teleported. That was a super weird one. 5 members of Griffin there to try and pick up the Corki, and he does finally find that F key.
He manages to escape right there. That was a pretty close call. And you know, I like what Griffin are doing. They're trying to make this team composition come online earlier. Kassadin doesn't have the runes that would want to go super late, and by that I mean Presence of Mind, where you see the Rod of Ages with the Seraph's Embrace, and you try to go for the super late game Kassadin resets utilizing the Rift Walk. And because of the way that he itemized early, his build is a little bit slowed down for that late game menace, but he can come online early with just Rod of Ages Sheen, or Rod of Ages get Seeker with Sheen or whatnot, and try to team fight early on. And given that they're being amplified by the Infernal Dragon, which is super powerful on all of their champions.
Yeah, would have been incredibly good for King's Own as well, but unfortunately for them, they're unable to pick that one up. You can see looking down at the farm, it is a big lead for Viper, close to 40 CS. It's just been so consistent for Griffin this entire season, even in the games that they weren't necessarily performing very well in. It wasn't on Viper. This guy is just really, really strong, and his Ezreal has had some real standout performances. Interesting that you've got Deft on the Kai'Sa this time. They could have picked up the Ezreal. It wasn't banned this time out.
Yeah.
Has been a champion that's been banned against Deft many, many times. And he was hovering things like the Jinx, some of his key picks. But the Kai'Sa is going to be picked up. The flavor of the month. We've heard Papa Smithy talking about this. This is a composition from King's Own that has those pieces that he was saying the meta does revolve a little bit around at the moment in the Kai'Sa and the Corki. Suicide Kai'Sa goes in, Corki mops up the fight is the theory. And certainly a lot of abilities to do that afterwards as well for King's Own. And if you have a look at the gold, like, we're 2 turrets apiece, we're 1 dragon apiece, we're 5 kills in the lead for Griffin, and the gold is still 1.5.
Yeah.
That's what double Cull, double Klepto does for you here on King's Own side, and they're probably aware of the fact that they do have a lot of, I guess, contingency plan when it comes to this income. Double Trinity Force completed. 0-2-0 for the Gangplank, but he's still probably got a fair bit of money. And 0-1-0 for Naehyun as well, very close to his rapid fire cannon for that 2nd item spike. Or 3rd item spike if you include Sork Boots as being one. I tend to.
Yeah.
Pretty strong when you pick up that as well as the Trinity Force.
He picks up the tier. Chovy does.
All right, so we're actually going for
He will
the
be going for the
greedy build.
Yeah, the Seraph's Embrace build, but he doesn't have Presence of Mind, which is so surprising because on Kassadin, if you want to go for this kind of a build, having that rune is so powerful.
Yeah.
To the build's effectiveness or amplifying it, and so really surprising to see him go with this. Especially because he goes into it so late. It's a relatively late tier pickup that he waited on.
And if Griffin continue playing the way they are, it sort of goes against their playstyle currently, which is play really hard, really fast, and try and win earlier rather than winning later. And I think Chovy probably could have bridged this build a little bit more effectively. I'd like to see him complete something like the Zhonya's next instead of going for the actual Archangels and let that tier, I guess, passively stack up. And then finish it once the tier is very close to finish. Griffin move on over, they're looking for their first Cloud Drake of this game. Bushfire Dragons come out here so far as the Infernal Drake is going to be spawning next. Chovy waiting in the wings.
Oh, I thought he was freezing.
Oh, no.
I was about to get excited.
No, it's not how things work here in the LCK. It's very hot. Have you been outside? Freezing's impossible.
It's been very hot here.
And it's super dry today. Normally
that's
it's
why
like,
I don't go outside.
yeah, look.
I have blackout shades in my house.
Nice.
Yeah, the sun is...
That's how you manage to wake up at like 8 p.m. every day. I get it.
Exactly. See? You're catching on.
Right. I mean, I installed blinds, but they're just Venetians, you know? It's just regular blinds.
You need blackout sheets.
I definitely don't. I like knowing whether it's daytime.
Every time I walk outside the apartment building, sometimes I look up and you can just see the blacked out windows.
Yeah.
I'm like, they probably
And you just smile. You're like, I'm home.
But I wonder how passerbys that look up and they're like, wonder what's wrong with
what kind of
that
weird
person.
stuff's going on in there. There's this recluse, you know, who's got weird jars of stuff. Like, oh no, please don't.
Oh man.
Well, 4 minutes, and that is when we're going to most likely see a fight. I think Kingzone can't afford to give away double Infernal this game, especially not in this composition, and especially not when it's going to be so important for Kingzone to pick up that particular dragon. 20 minutes on the clock, so Baron has just spawned. Not going to be a likely option for them to go for any time early. No mountains have spawned or anything like that. We're not exactly the tankiest bunch, unless, you know, Tarzan can get up there. No Warmog completed just yet, though, so probably not going to be the choice. Viper and Lehends doing exactly the Ezreal Tarn Pench things here in this mid lane, clearing out wave after wave. Currently 56 CS in the lead. Not bad. This makes his way down. Chovy is still lurking here, but heads up play, decides not to show himself.
Oh, they're going for him.
Yeah, we're looking for the dive. No package available from Naehyun as there's the flash. TusiN is going to completely whiff the ult though. Chovy's going to get another rip off, but there's the slam dunk, and Cuzz is going to put the Kassadin in the ground.
And it took a pretty hefty investment to bring him down here, so we're going to see what Griffin can do to respond. It looks like they're going to be able to raise mid-tier 2.
Yep, Barrel's going to come on over, but Tarzan looking for Rascal. He explodes, finally finds the flash as the ultimate's going to go wide. Deft moves out of the way, takes a bit of damage off the back end, but otherwise is going to be okay. You mentioned turrets though, and it is going to be a 1-for-1.
Yeah.
And so probably going to still work out okay here for Kingzone until Doran takes that turret and puts Griffin in the lead of that trade. Just saw just how squishy Rascal is with this build though. 40% CDR, yes. Any defensive stats, absolutely not.
Right. And so this will be scary for the team fights. Take another quick look at the replay. Absolute cheaters. 3 versus 1 right here. And the way that they held the aggro on the Gragas, they waited for Cuzz to use the Cataclysm after Chovy cast a second Rift Walk. Not even Kassadin could escape from that.
Nope. Doesn't quite have the level 16 ultimate just yet. Doesn't have the cooldowns available. In fact, he hasn't built any cooldown reduction whatsoever on this Kassadin, so those Rift Walks are going to take a little bit longer than you otherwise would expect. Good dodge there from Viper, who's got 3 items. Probably can build a few more as well. Blade of the Ruined King just coming in 550 on that bounty as well. This is one hella huge Ezreal.
Well, he is quite big, and with the second Infernal Dragon coming up, he's only going to get stronger.
Yeah.
Because it's very likely Griffin should be able to take that fight quite handily. Not sure if Chovy is going to be able to complete the Seraph's or the Archangel's staff before this team fight. We'll see.
Well, he probably wants the Archangels. I was talking about building the Zhonya's first, but maybe having that extra 10% CDR on top of that might make the Archangels a little bit of a better choice. Looks like he has decided that with the Lost Chapter completed now on this Carcedon. Moving over to 9 stacks, very close to hitting that fully stacked Rod of Ages.
You know, I was thinking that time-based items are so neat.
You think they're neato?
I think they really are.
Alice. Yeah, what about them do you like the most?
I just like quest items in general.
That's true.
You
So
know,
you've been
imagine
playing-
if there was an item that it got stacks for every takedown you got. That wasn't like a Magi's, like a tankish kind of item or something.
So like gives you health? We could call it Leviathan. Do you remember that item? You like that item?
See this where you making fun of me?
Yeah, yeah. That was an item, and it stacked. It was much like sort of the occult, which was the Magi's of AD. There was a AP AD and
oh, we got a team fight.
health version, and here we go. The Devour was used very early as Viper now free-hitting in the backline. We've got the Cannon Barrage down, doing a lot of damage right now as it is going to be taken by Cuzz. Infernal Drake locked up, but Chovy's found himself the perfect flank. Doran trying to dive over. True Shot Barrage. He's used the flash in for the double knock-up from Doran. And 2 kills are at least going to come down in the Abyssal Voyage. Might make it more, but maybe it's the Abysmal variety as Tarzan has to flash to get himself out. TusiN sacrificing himself just now. Deft finds the ultimate, goes the opposite direction. He's hunting for Tarzan, but the piggy's going to escape. And Deft is not going to be so lucky. Doran with the double kill. They lose the Infernal, but win the fight.
They lose the Infernal, but they win the fight so decisively that now they're going to be able to reward themselves with likely this bottom tier 2 turret, so that's an objective capture. They're getting minion waves, and then after this, they're able to pillage the jungle of Kingzone.
Oh yeah, there's basically nothing on this map. The Kingzone owns now. Only 1 inner turret remains. It's 5-3. For the first time, we've got a full-on turret discrepancy. Let's have a look at this fight one more time. Viper was so safe in this backline until the cannon.
Yeah, the fight's a little bit interesting. Doran doesn't have the best teleport spot in the world, and then it's a 50-50 on the Dragon's Might. Jarvan comes out victorious. You can see Carcedon, he's waiting for more of an opening and needs more members to be low. Doran finds a lot of damage. Rascal tries to sacrifice himself. Cuzz says for the king, but not quite, as Tarzan, he ends up taking the Abyssal Voyage. A little bit surprising. He almost went down there. Doran able to kill TusiN. Really nice attempt by Deft to just stall time and maybe go for the incoming minion wave to delay the inevitable. He goes down as well, but at the end of the day, it's pretty nice for Griffin. If Kingzone can hold on for another 10 minutes, yeah, it's going to be good for Kingzone.
Yeah, well, Kingzone 5,000 gold is going to be their deficit at this stage of the game. They do have that dirty word in the scaling on their side in a lot of their lanes. I mean, Corki, talk about Kai'Sa and Gangplank, all pretty good when it comes to building items and making use of them. No slouches on the side of Griffin, especially Chovy, who's going to really come online later, given the build path that he has gone for. Archangel staff now completed, wanting to stack that one up as quickly as he possibly can. And Doran's gigantic. He's just a really big boy. 4-0 and 3 on this Aatrox, and he's got 3 items and not a care in the world. He, in fact, thematically rebuilt his champion by purchasing a GH. Naehyun in a whole lot of trouble though. TusiN looking for more, but he's just going to get turned on and destroyed. Viper takes that kill very easily. Voidseeker doing no damage considering the build here from Deft. He's gone full AD. It's only a Rage Blade to give any sort of ability power, so that one doesn't do any damage. Chovy now off in a side lane. He's going to be really rough to deal with also. It feels like this game really has just gotten out of Kingzone's control in almost every way.
Yeah, they don't have an answer to Carcedon, and he's 15.5 right now, or 15 and a half. He's going to be 16 soon. And that's the real tipping point for this champion.
Yep. Full bounty here for Viper as well, 700 on that one, 5-0 and 2. The Ezreal's really big. He even sold his boost of Lucidity. Now that he finished off the Maw of Malmortius, and I believe with Transcendence, which he probably has, he now has that 40% CDR back up. No need for those boots, and Merc Treads are going to make sure that this CC isn't going to last too long. Not a lot of it, however, on the side of Kingzone, so perplexing item choice, but it is going to mitigate some of that magic damage. Do Kingzone have any? No, they've got anything that that is affected by tenacity.
Gameplay.
Right.
Dragon.
But wouldn't Swiftness boots be better for that?
Ooh.
Yeah?
Well, magic resist.
I know.
You know, you gotta
I
factor
feel like
that
it
in.
might
Come
be
on,
the magic
Atlas. Get it
resistance
together, bud.
situation. I already mentioned that. I mentioned that.
I know it's Sunday, but I was excited to see you.
I was excited to see you too. No, you weren't. I was, I promise. The drama's bad. Don't worry, guys. Griffin considering the Baron here, as Viper's just throwing a lot of abilities at it. You don't need to stack your tier anymore,
It's really
mate.
cruel,
You're
you know?
fine.
Look at Baron doesn't even fight back. How rude.
Yeah.
Just proking and prodding it.
Yeah. Sometimes these things happen. Kingzone grouped up as 4. They've got Rascal in a side lane, Cannon Barrage at the ready. Speaking of side lanes, Doran is a problem.
He's 16. And the Infernal Dragon, it's going to go over to Griffin. Kingzone cannot even risk trying to contest this. Now, another problem is look across the board at the level discrepancy between all the champions. You have 2 in top lane. You have 2 in AD carry. You have 1 in support. The mid laners are even. But these base levels, they mean so much. They're so scary. I mean, Rascal, he has to be really careful now, even against Costin in the side lane.
Well, he's only level 15 and wants that level 16 so badly. Don't quite know how many doubloons he's managed to pick up so far this game, but that Cannon Barrage hitting rank 3 is very important for this guy. Also, wants Hysteric's Gauge, can't quite afford it just yet, as we're having a look at some of the gold numbers. It is a huge lead for Naehyun, actually, 2,000 gold ahead of Chovy. Whereas bottom side of the map, it's 5,000 gold ahead for Viper. Casual 5,000 gold lead.
Casual 5K.
Yeah.
No big deal.
And 2 Infernal Drakes. As far as statistics between these 2 AD carries, Viper is about as much in the lead as you can possibly be.
Yeah.
That's terrifying. Crucial Barrage doing a lot of damage here to Kingzone Dragon X, just to prove my point. As Deft off to the side, he wants to be able to get himself a Bramble back. Not going to be able to though, as Lehends eats it and delivers it to Viper. Viper almost towards that 6 item mark. 7,000 gold remains the lead here for Griffin. Pressure being put on all around the map right now, as at least Kingzone were able to get some vision around here. TusiN being caught out here in this jungle, gets himself the Aftershock. The ultimate is going to come down. They waited out really nicely. Gargoyle Stoneplate comes in, and there is going to be the escape. TusiN body slams, gets himself back, as that Mystic Shot may have killed Naehyun just there. But is going to be avoided. Valkyrie, pretty good ability. And once again, Kingzone hang on to every single flash, as they like to do.
And we can see in the side lane, though, Chovy, he's not making a lot of progress against the Gangplank.
Griffin do get over this wall, though. As they're looking at the Baron. They do have a lot of vision, but they're still wanting to bait for it. Not wanting to go for any 50-50s.
Alice, please remember the game stats prior to this game, okay? 32-minute average game time. We're only
Yeah, that's true.
30.
If we're going to get in between the 2 teams, I think it's almost like exactly 33. So we really do have to make sure.
Yeah, we got another minute and 20 until this game's decided, okay?
Wow.
Yeah, just turn the page.
No, I didn't pick one up today.
Oh, you didn't?
No, because it's an exciting
I
day as
saw
far
you,
as the results.
you came in through the back today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just wanted to avoid going to the script section.
All right.
That's what I did.
It's my favorite part.
I know. But, you know, you've got your thing. It's why, like, when a Cataclysm comes down, I don't say wabam, because that's the Valdez thing.
Is that the Valdez thing?
That's the Valdez thing.
Okay. I'm not a fan of Cataclysm.
There hasn't been much wabamming this game, though.
No, there really hasn't.
Like, I mean, he did get Chovy once, but didn't really feel feel like much of a win.
You know what? This Kassadin, the skin is so pretty, and the space aspect of it. There's a new Netflix series that came out.
Oh yeah.
It's like Arrival meets something else. I don't even know.
Are you talking about Another Life?
Yes. Did you watch it?
Yeah, I did.
Did you watch all 10?
Yep. I'm a big fan of Battlestar Galactica, so anything that Katie Sackhoff's in, I'm going to watch. She was great. Don't get me wrong.
Wait, who does she play in?
She's the main character. She's
Oh.
the-
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Did you like this series?
Well, I mean, I like the premise. I really like the premise. I just thought the dialogue was a bit crap, and a lot of the secondary characters were...
Yeah, a lot of the supporting characters, they're not very good.
I watch TV shows for character development, and when there basically is none, I sort of lose interest.
Yeah.
I watched Neon Genesis Evangelion for the first time recently.
Okay.
Unbelievable. You liked Another Earth and like a bit of spacey type stuff, futuristic type stuff. I didn't realize what I'd been missing out on. I think it's absolute sacrilege that I hadn't watched probably one of the most famous animes of all time. As here we go, looking for a potential fight. Ultimate is going to come down, but misses onto Deft. Good slow is there. The Kingzone feel like they have managed to get themselves out of the way. Big flash, gigantic knock-up to come down as the Cannon Barrage is doing decent work locking this one out. But it just feels like Griffin are way too far ahead. Rascal is in the mid lane, and the Gragas is going to fall. Griffin unable to find anything else, but now with a man advantage, might be able to get something done. Looks like top lane is going to be the answer here first off. They're tanking the turret to keep that minion alive, and the base is going to be broken, most likely in 2 places. War of attrition right now as Griffin are just putting on too much pressure.
Viper is going to be able to get that mid-tier 3 as well, and that's going to make an exposed inhibitor.
He's 140 CS ahead
No,
of
this is
Deft.
a 10,000 gold lead right now. Okay, we're talking about another life. I'm thinking about another game.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Which game do you think? Game
thinking
2?
about game 2, yeah.
Good.
I'm just waiting for it.
I was gonna say it's no time to think about it. Okay.
No.
As Chovy is gonna be able to take their second Cloud Drake. An even distribution. Dragons, I like it. Great pattern up towards the top
now
as
an
you
Elder's
can see.
coming.
Yeah. 5 minutes to go until that one is going to be available as we have a look at the Kingzone attempt to disengage. Cuzz looked like he almost picked up the ultimate in this one, but unable to.
I mean, it was such a beautiful knockup by Doran right there. And then Viper was able to deal so much damage to TusiN.
Meanwhile, Cuzz is dead.
Yeah, well.
That's going to mean Baron. As Viper jumps over the wall, he just feels so incredibly confident right now, and why wouldn't you as TusiN goes golden, but he's going to be taken down. Another kill for the Ezreal. Doran finds Naehyun. Look at that healing. That was absolutely insane. The World Ender plus the Death Dance being so good. Rascal can't do anything. And with the revive from the GA, that will mean that Griffin get a clean ace, and they are going to be able to win the game. Just so good. Remember guys, if Griffin win this right here, it is almost guaranteed, based on the standings of their next scheduled matches, that they will be #1 in the LCK, and they're looking like they deserve it after a controlled victory. Like this one, 13,000 gold to lead, not even close for Griffin.
So they walk away from game #1 completely bulldozing it. Even though they had 2 losing matchups, they managed to win both. And once the mid-game came around, they took things over. They lost that one Infernal, but they won the fight really decisively. And then everything else just got really out of control. Kingzone could never quite stabilize, and their team comp wasn't positioned to answer Griffin.
And also, it felt like they were just happy to scale and scale and scale, but gave away way too much in the name of that, right? And Griffin just knew that if they kept the pressure on, they kept denying things from Kingzone, it didn't matter that they had double cull completion and double kleptomancy. They just didn't let this Kingzone squad farm and got themselves into a dominant map position and never let go. I think this is actually really smart because Kingzone, they took a gamble on the fact that Griffin was still a team that didn't necessarily aggressively close out games. And Griffin showed us here today that they're more than happy to do that if given that avenue. And that's great to see from our LCK teams that are known for playing a little bit slower, one could say.
Well, we're going to take a look at a replay here And this is where Cuzz bites the dust. So,
All right, this is what.
35 minutes of posturing to kill a control ward. So,
Flashing aggressively and then almost killing TusiN. That's what happens when you're that far ahead.
and then this was the game-ending play. I mean, Kingzone, they probably just feel forced into the situation. Chovy teleport flanking from behind, but it was all over for Kingzone, and Atrox nerfed, by the way. So.
Yeah, that healing was disgusting.
I'm really glad, though. He's not up for review in 9.16. I feel like patch notes are becoming a little bit like a parole hearing almost, you know?
Yeah.
Someone's...
You get to come back in and say, yeah, but I haven't been winning that much.
Like Tom Kench.
Yeah, like Tom Kench, but he's gonna get
Leave him
nerfed again.
alone.
No,
Oh, man.
do you want to see more of the Thomas?
I want to see him reworked or altered.
Yeah.
I feel like they're really missing what's making him be a nuisance in the bottom.
Yeah, I think so too. But guys, this is a best of 3. Kingzone can turn around that performance from game number 1, and we might get to see more of that explosive play from Griffin. Stick around.